Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Briar Greaves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether it's auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, there's nobody better in the business to work with than the great people over at Briar Greaves Insurance. For more information about them, visit their website, briargreavesinsurance.com. or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. And make sure you give Briar Greaves Insurance a call, because if you do, you have a conversation with them about how they can help you in your insurance needs, you will automatically be entered into a raffle to win free tickets into the lower bowl section of Raymond James Stadium for the Bucs Falcons Thursday night football game in December. It's the creamsicle game where the Bucs will be rocking their orange creamsicle uniforms. So give Briar Greaves Insurance a call, and you'll be automatically entered into that raffle for the Thursday night creamsicle game. We have a Bucs Bills preview to get into for today's show. Two teams that lost pretty badly in different ways, but last week that are looking to get back into the winning column. Two-star quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen. Something's got to give in this matchup, and we're going to break it all down on today's show with some good injury news as well. So I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com. It's SR, Scott Reynolds. Hello, Scott. How are we doing?
Doing good, Matt. Sorry, I was muted for a second there. I muted myself, but
No worries.
I am speaking now. So hello, Bucs fans and Pewter people. Yeah, good news, emergency podcast, the good kind. We don't like the bad kind when we have to say, hey, so-and-so is an injured reserve or whatever.
Right.
But when the starters come back or there's contract extensions, there's positive news, we like to do those emergency podcasts. So thanks for joining us earlier if you did. The good news, of course, is Bucky Irving back at practice. What does it mean just yet? Well, we don't exactly know, because Todd Bowles said he wants to see Bucky Irving do more than just a walkthrough, which is what today's practice was. And he's going to have to take a hit before he kind of gets cleared to go out there and play in the game. And as we mentioned on that emergency podcast, and I think it bears repeating, Matt, we want to give fans hope, but also deal with reality. We did see Luke Haggard, who was coming off of a shoulder injury that he suffered against the 49ers. He returned to practice last week, was a full participant at the end of the week, and still was a healthy scratch, because he just wasn't ready for contact yet on that shoulder. So keep that in mind. Practice is not like a game. They will go in full pads a couple of times a year. Todd Bowles said they're not going to go in full pads this week. They had a walkthrough today. So it's more about the mental prep and all of that. But with Bucky Irving, the last thing anybody wants to see is Bucky Irving go out there a little too early and lay a shoulder into somebody or get tackled into the turf and have that shoulder injury get re-aggravated. So they want to make sure that there's enough time to heal. But still, there is a chance he plays because he returned to practice. Last week he didn't practice, Matt. He wasn't going to play.
Right, and it's exciting to see all the Bucs fans super pumped about it. And it is good news that Bucky Irving did at least return to, albeit a walkthrough. It's tough to say, oh, he's limited in a walkthrough. But if someone were to ask me right now, like, oh, I need to know for my fantasy team, is Bucky Irving going to play? I would say I wouldn't put him in the lineup just yet. And that's for a couple of reasons, because even if he does play, I don't necessarily think he's going to be running the football 20 times and, getting 10 targets and something like that. I think they're certainly going to ease his way back into the lineup. And you have that benefit when Rachaad White is available. And Sean Tucker did a pretty good job as far as a runner in the Bucs' latest game when they lost to the Patriots. So it's going to be a wait and see type of thing. Todd Bowles kind of mentioned today about how it's kind of tough to gauge whether or not you can play someone if they're not going to get hit in practice. So we'll see tomorrow. I think that'll be more of an indicator of whether or not Bucky can, have an opportunity to go and play. But man, what a difference Bucky Irving could be if he is able to go in this game. And then on top of that, there was some even just as good news. I'm not going to say better news, but just as great news. We didn't see him out there at practice, but as it turns out, Chris Godwin Jr. was listed as limited
Yeah.
during Wednesday's practice as well. He wasn't standing out there on the side, but we're only out there for about half an hour or so watching practice during this walkthrough. So maybe when we went back inside, Chris Godwin Jr. came out. But fantastic to hear that Chris Godwin Jr. was limited in practice today as well. I wouldn't go as far as to say that he's going to be ready to go on Sunday, but things are finally going in the favor of the Bucs just a little bit when it comes to the injuries.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess really that just leaves a couple other players that we expect back at some point in time. Hassan Reddick is one of those players, and he's dealing with an ankle sprain right now from that Detroit Lions Monday night game. And then Mike Evans is a chance he returns later this season. It might not be until the playoffs, but I think when you're looking at this, you're probably looking at January for his return, and we'll see if Jalen McMillan makes a return. I've been told the team is hopeful he can return sometime in December. Not necessarily December 1st, but it might be closer towards the end of December. But those are a couple wide receivers. The Bucs didn't make a move at wide receiver. And right now, you got Emeka Buka playing exceptionally well. You've got Tez Johnson, who's coming off a 2-touchdown game. Still have Sterling Shepard out there to, get things going in terms of picking up some change, sometimes also picking off opponents and getting penalties.
Yeah.
But, we saw Emeka Buka be the guy that we needed him to be if the Buccaneers were going to have a chance to beat the Patriots. And they did have a chance to beat the Patriots. They were right there with 2 minutes left at the New England 27-yard line, right? And Emeka Buka had 115 yards in the game and a touchdown. He's got 6 on the season. And, it's only a matter of time before hopefully Chris Godwin comes back, and then that could start to snowball at the position, man. Then you get Jalen McMillan back sometime in December, Mike Evans sometime in January, and maybe they come back just in time to really help this team with the playoff push. And hopefully by then they've done their job and they've already wrapped up the NFC South, and it's just a matter of where this team is going to be seated. Is it going to be number 4, or do they have a chance of getting up to number 3 or number 2? And when it's all said and done. So, I don't want to say I'm really optimistic about the Bucs beating the Bills, because something's got to give here, right? Mm-hmm. Since Josh Allen became a Buffalo Bill in 2018, his rookie season, same rookie season that Baker Mayfield had in Cleveland, they were both first-round picks, I think, in the top 10. Baker went number 1 overall. But Matt, the Bills haven't lost back-to-back games since that 2018 season. That's a remarkable feat, and it just goes to show you how good of a team they are. Certainly Sean McDermott's had a lot to do with that. So has Josh Allen. But that's what the Buccaneers are aspiring to be. They're aspiring to be a great team. Todd Bowles said, we're not great on Monday, but they can take a step towards that by beating the Bills. And again, something's got to give. The Bucs have never won up in Orchard Park. They've never won up in the Bills Stadium. So is this going to happen in the 50th year of the franchise? They're finally going to get that franchise win up there? We'll see. But either the Bills are going to lose for the first time back-to-back games since 2018, or they're going to continue that streak, or the Buccaneers are going to take a step like they did earlier this season, coming off that loss to the Eagles with a win on the road in a tough environment up in Seattle.
If they are able to pull it off, I think it would be their most impressive win of the season, and we'll see how it plays out and everything like that. But listen, the Buffalo Bills are the cream of the crop in the NFL. They are consistently in AFC championship games. They're knocking on the door of that Super Bowl. Really, the only thing that's been in Buffalo's way is Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs, who are a really good team. But we've seen with the Bucs, whether it was last year, whether it was last year going toe-to-toe with Mahomes, losing it in the in overtime to them on Monday Night Football, or if it was this season, going back and forth with the Patriots, but coming up short. The Bucs in the past under Todd Bowles, they'll play up to their competition, and then they'll play down to their competition sometimes as well. They have not played down to their competition this season, which is really, really good. I think their worst game, I think we'd all agree, was the Monday night game against the Lions, where they kind of got pushed around a little bit and wasn't really that close in the end. But if they can continue to play up to their competition, I know it didn't work with the Patriots with having the ball last with an opportunity to win the game.
Yep.
But I think more often than not, even against a good Buffalo team,
Yeah.
if the Bucs can hang tough late, I'm still going to bet on Baker Mayfield to get the job done when it matters most. I'm not going to look at one situation
Right.
where the team screwed up and they weren't able to fix it. And I think Emeka Buka is a big part of that. I
agree.
was super impressed because a lot of what we talked about going into the Patriots game, and they got a good defense and some really good corners, is how are you going to get Emeka Buka involved,
Yeah.
knowing he's the top guy and there's not that security of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and even Bucky Irving at the running back position. And what do? Bam. First drive, couple of catches, a touchdown. And he was involved. He was a factor the entire game. So love what they were able to do with the Emeka Buka. And I think they'll be able to channel that, not just against the Bills, but really for the entirety of the season until Chris Godwin Jr. is able to return. And even on top of that, until Chris Godwin Jr. hopefully resembles the Chris Godwin that we know and love for his entirety of his career with the Bucs.
No, you're exactly right. And I'm curious to see, which team it comes out and executes better, because that's really been a focus for this. We heard it after the game on Sunday when Baker Mayfield said that this team has to really execute and do the little things right. And we talked about that today with Baker, and he was talking about that those last two plays on that final drive, right at the 2-minute warning. And the Bucs did have a scoring drive after that touchdown run they gave up to Travion Henderson the second of the day. But it was not doing those little things right on those two plays that ended up costing them. And I sense that this team is still kind of pissed off and hyper focused. Yeah. And it wasn't like they were coming off the bye and they were lackadaisical and they weren't focused. I think they were. It just, you got to ratchet it up to play at the level of a great team. And right now, the Patriots, whether you like it or not, Bucs fans, they're 8-2. Okay, they're a great team. They're playing great football right now, and the Bucs they were good, but they weren't great. And so we'll see if they can take steps towards being great. And as you said, Matt, the Bills are kind of like one of those blue bloods in the AFC. They're always good. They're always in there. They're always down to that wire, that Final Four, if not the NFC or the AFC Championship game. And if not for Patrick Mahomes, they might have a Super Bowl or two, by now. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and that's what they are. We have some super chats to get to. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make one more point, then we can get to the super chats. And thank you to everybody that's watching. Thank you to everyone that's super chatting. We've kind of talked about the gauntlet that the Bucs are about to go through with having played the Patriots and now the Bills and then the Rams the following week. I think also we got to understand the Bucs have had some quality wins over the 49ers and the Seahawks. And Sam Darnold has really revived his career. But I think we're forgetting the Bucs are going through a gauntlet of great quarterbacks right now. Josh Allen is the reigning MVP. Matthew Stafford next week has been having games where he's throwing 4 touchdown passes, 5 touchdown passes, 4 touchdown passes. And Drake May, he's a second-year player. There are arguments to be made that he's in the running, the top running for the MVP at the moment. So the Bucs defense, while they have their issues stopping the run, they have to be on it in terms of containing Josh Allen, because it's not just, we got to keep Josh Allen in the pocket.
Yeah.
We don't want him to fire it 60 yards down the field, which he can. We also don't want him to escape the pocket. So it's going to be quite the battle for Tampa Bay's defense against an MVP caliber player in Josh Allen as well.
Yeah, I did a Bills podcast yesterday, and I kind of got the skinny on the Bills from one of their Bills reporters, Mike Catalana, and he was talking to me about how the Bills fans were so envious of the fact that Tampa Bay has 2 really good rookie wide receivers, because the receivers that they've been giving Josh Allen, that's the AFC equivalent of not feeding Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers wide receivers for all those years too, just kind of ignoring the position. They drafted Keon Coleman in the second round. He's not that good.
Just hasn't worked out.
No, it hasn't. And they had Stephon Diggs for a while, then he's gone, and they're just trying to find that guy. And really, this could be a little reminiscent now. Certainly much better quarterback. We're talking Josh Allen versus Mac Jones here in that 49ers game. But where if you stopped or slowed down Christian McCaffrey, you probably beat the 49ers. You limit their offense. And that's kind of how the Bills are right now. They're so dependent on James Cook having a good game, or a great game, really. And if that doesn't happen, then the Bills are susceptible to, to getting beat. And I think that's one of the things too, that if Todd Bowles can really drill home, stay in your gaps, right? And there were two defensive busts on those Travion Henderson touchdown runs by veterans. Anthony Nelson, he went outside when he should have stayed inside in terms of his gap discipline. And the same thing with Antoine Winfield Jr. on that. He had outside contain. He went inside trying to make a play, and he blew contain. And, those are two veteran players. It wasn't like we have to blame rookies, and Sebastian Dennis wasn't to blame on those plays. This was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, the last game for the Bucs, and one of the highest paid defensive backs in the game. So it feels like if they can bottle James Cook up, he's the second leading rusher in the NFL right now with just under 1,000 yards. They have a chance, but you have to also play the receiving version of James Cook exceptionally well, because we've seen too often, and maybe they've done a better job lately, but we've seen running backs hurt the Buccaneers out in the flat, out of the swing passes, racing past the likes of Sebastian Dennis, Levante David, etc.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's so funny because like 2 to 3 years ago, when James Cook was a rookie and a second-year player, it was the Bills never had a run game besides Josh Allen taking it and running it. And
right.
They're able to throw it everywhere. And now it's just completely flipped, where they rely on Cook a lot, and the passing game is kind of, a little bit of touch and go. Like Khalil Shakir is their top wide receiver, but he's more of, as far as like receiving yards go, but he's more of like their possessions receiver guy. He's only averaging 10.2 yards per reception, where Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, who's only a couple yards away from leading Shakir, he's averaging 15 yards per reception.
Yeah.
So they don't have like that big down the field threat, kind of like some other teams do, because Keon Coleman hasn't necessarily lived up to the billing. And you look at the Bucs defense, and I watched that game against the Patriots. Obviously, we all did. But you go back and watch again, and it's like, man, outside of the two lapses stopping the run, the Bucs did a really good job of containing Travion Henderson. There were several runs that went for 1 yard, no gain, -1. But when you allow the two gigantic, enormous, big plays, everything else gets washed into the wayside. Now, if you're the Bills, you got to go, all right, we're just going to feed our best players, because that's been the recipe for beating the Bucs defense, except for last week. The Patriots a little bit different. But, hey, if we give our best football player the ball and get him out in space a little bit, odds are he's going to do damage. And I think that's why you saw Bijan Robinson look so good and Jahmyr Gibbs look so good, because the Bucs weren't able to get the stops. And then that win over San Fran, they contained Christian McCaffrey as much as they possibly could. So, yeah, I'm with you. It could just come down to straight up keep Josh Allen away from the big explosive plays with his legs as well, because he can definitely do that, and limit James Cook to, certain opportunities, whether it's passing or handing the ball off to him. You stop those two guys, and you can't guarantee a win, but you're going to put yourself in a situation where you should come out on top on the road.
For sure. And I think, too, with Dalton Kincaid being out this week, that's certainly going to help. He's got a hamstring injury. And, there are other tight ends. Dawson Knox, he's not the receiving guy he used to be. We did see Jackson Hawes, number 85. He caught a touchdown pass. They've kind of been waiting for him to kind of come around. But there really isn't that go-to guy for Josh Allen in the passing game. And that's why it's going to be so important. And I kind of brought this up with Todd Bowles today. And we've seen this because Josh Allen is a big quarterback. He's not 6'10", as Baker Mayfield said that he was. He's not that tall. But he's a big guy, kind of a Ben Roethlisberger type, but also very fast. He can accelerate. He's very agile. And he can make throws, as Todd Bowles said. He can make throws with guys hanging all over him. So when you have your opportunity to get Josh Allen down, you've got to tackle, right? You can't just fly in on a blitz and miss. You got to get him down. You have to go for that kill shot. Same thing with Yaya Diaby. Same thing with Anthony Nelson, with Chris Braswell, who's ever getting into the backfield. Vita Vea. I like Vita Vea's chances of bringing anybody down, but yes. You've got it when you have him in the crosshairs. You've got to get the kill shot. You can't just come in and miss or arm tackle, because he is big enough. He can still get the ball off. He's still big enough. He can shove you down with the stiff arm and make plays. And if you don't get him down, what you're doing is you're creating an escape lane, because that's exactly where he's going to go, right? He's going to say, all right, Yaya Diaby came in, and I was able to elude him, sidestep him, whatever. Now my escape route is that way, right? Elijah Roberts comes up the middle. He beats the guard, and I kind of shove him to the side. My escape lane is right there up the middle. So that's going to be super important. When you have your opportunities to take the kill shot, you got to do that. You got to get Josh Allen down for the sacks. Otherwise, you're just inviting disaster, because that's where the big plays happen with this guy.
Yeah, there are times where you can kind of get away with, yes, you want to get the sack, but if you're able to just hit the quarterback, it'll rattle him and disrupt the way that the offense runs. But that's not the case with Josh Allen. I mean, we're talking about one of the best, if not the best quarterback in the league. So definitely a tall task for this defense, and we'll see if they're up to the challenge. But let's get to these super chats, starting off with Mark Fisher. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Who says, defense has given up numerous big runs while we have precious few and no 20-plus yard runs. What are our opponents doing that we can't so far? Good seeing you, SR.
Well, I think part of the problem with the lack of the 20-yard runs is they haven't had the guy that's been producing those 20-yard runs on offense.
Yeah.
Bucky Irving, he had 8 of them last year to lead this team. And without Bucky in the lineup, it's been, a challenge. Now, even Bucky hasn't had a ton of success on the ground this year. He's done most of his damage through the air. He already has, I want to say, 193 yards receiving this year in just 4 games, including that 72-yard catch and run that he had against the Eagles. That was the longest touchdown of his career. But he's only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. And as Todd Bowles kind of alluded to, and I believe him, I have eyes, not having that continuity up front is everything, because what we've seen is, when you look at those runs from last year, it was everybody up front doing their job. It was making sure Bucky could get to the second level unscathed. And then it was making a linebacker miss, right? So you're going to give Bucky 4 yards. He's now at linebacker level. He's making a guy miss. He gets the next 4. But then it's a tight end sealing off a safety. It's a wide receiver downfield blocking a safety or a cornerback, or it's Baker Mayfield sprinting 40 yards down the field to get an extra block. It's those types of things that spring the running backs to get what should be a 12-yard gain that turns into a 30-plus yard run. It's the downfield blocks. Sterling Shepard will do that. He's a bit of a dog. Ryan Miller is the best blocking receiver on this team. That's why they have him in sometimes. Sometimes it's a tell, because they're going to run the ball, because they want him out there literally erasing one of those defensive backs to hopefully spring a long run. But when you've got Tez Johnson, Matt, he's 160 pounds, and that's where it's going to hurt you in your running game. Maybe, if anything, you run away from Tez's side, but then you're kind of maybe giving a tell to the defense. I think Emeka Egbuka could certainly block, but also not having Chris Godwin. Excuse me, I said Ryan Miller was the best blocking wide receiver. Chris Godwin's the best blocking wide receiver when healthy, right? So not having him, it's those extra guys that really are the catalyst for some of those longer runs. And then, of course, the guy that broke all of them off last year, he hadn't played in 5 weeks.
That's very true, man. I remember the days. I mean, it wasn't crazy long ago, but there was times like Chris Godwin, they'd throw him in the backfield as like a lead blocker for some of the other running backs. I'll also never forget Chris Godwin Jr. getting a handoff against the Packers to get the 3rd down and punch the Bucs ticket into the Super Bowl when they defeated the Packers in the NFC Championship game.
Right.
So they're definitely missing more than just Chris Godwin Jr.'s receiving prowess. But I think with Bucky as well, we almost take it for granted how good he is at making defenders miss. And there's been several times this season where he's had to make defenders miss at the line of scrimmage, where last season he's doing it at the 2nd level, sometimes even the 3rd level. And that's where he's able to rip off those 20-plus yard runs. not everybody can do what Bucky Irving can do. And Todd Bowles said today that, each running back brings their own type of juice. And I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But a running back's ability to make people miss, I think, makes him way more valuable than your run-of-the-mill running backs.
Yeah.
And people do it differently. Saquon's fast. He'll spin. He'll jump. We don't really see Bucky jumping. Derrick Henry will just run people over because he's that enormous.
Or fumble.
Bucky, yeah. And Bucky just, I don't know, the way he's able to make defenders miss, he does it in his own unique style, his own special type of way that can't be harnessed by other running backs. And I think Luke Gedeke, his return last week had much more of an impact than we realized, because the Bucs were able to have, for the first time this season, a running back go for over 50 rushing yards against that Patriots defense. Was it singularly just Luke Gedeke? No.
Right.
But having him back protects so many other things in this group. And I want to see as well, I think the Bucs, because they've had a little more issues throwing the football the past couple of games without having Chris, and Baker struggled a little bit too. He's missed open guys. He's had some poor throws. The Bucs were finding success running the football on first down. Yeah, and I think at times, even though they ripped off 5-6 yards, they would think, okay, well, Patriots are going to stop the next one, so we got to throw it now. The Bucs got themselves into a lot of 3rd and long situations against the Patriots.
Yeah.
And that's why they weren't converting on 3rd down. Yeah. That's why they were so bad at it. I'm not saying you got to go run, pass every single time, but if you rip off a good 5-6 yard run on a first down drive or whatever the case may be, don't hesitate to run the ball again, even though you might not get the first down on 2nd down. I think the Bucs will be fine if they get into 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s, and stuff like that. And then you could throw it, or then you can run it again. And especially if you're going up against Josh Allen and you're in Buffalo and you want to try to take the crowd out of it. And we'll see what the weather is. I mean, it feels like it fluctuates every single day over in Buffalo. I don't think the Bucs should shy away. And I know statistically it's not the most amazing thing, but if you want to run it twice on 3 downs, I don't think the Bucs should be scared to do so, whether or not Bucky Irving is available, because Luke Gedeke returning, I think, allows the Bucs to do that a little bit more.
And also, too, this is a bit of a homecoming game for Sean Tucker as well, right? Yes. He played in upstate New York at Syracuse, and the game's in Buffalo. It's not like around the corner, but it's close. So, I think we saw the best game from Tucker last week too. 18-yard run, the longest run by a running back this year, and we're excited to see what's going to happen. And I think this is the more winnable game out of the next two. I'm not writing off that game out there in LA against the Rams, but Rams are kind of feeling themselves right now. They took it to the 49ers. Now that's a hated rivalry game right there for sure. But that's one of those games where I don't know if the Buccaneers are going to have the firepower to put up 42 points or whatever it's going to be to keep up with the Rams, because Sean McVay has gotten the better of Todd Bowles more often than not. And I'm not writing that game off. I'm just saying, if you want to win one of these games, you want to win the Rams game because it's the NFC one. But what game is the more likely victory? I think it might be this Sunday. And I'm not saying they're going to win, but I'm not saying that they're not either. We're going to continue with our Bucs coverage, and we're going to get more into the Bucs Bills preview in just a moment. But first, your reminder to make sure you check us out tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on Pewter Report TV for another Pewter Report podcast, our Thursday podcast. Who needs a win more, the Bucs or the Bills? We're going to kind of dive into that, and we'll see if Chris Godwin is a participant tomorrow, as the Buccaneers have more of a practice. Today was a walkthrough, but good sign that he was out there along with Bucky Irving. And then on Friday's show, Matt and I are going to have some fun with this one. Bold Bucs predictions for the rest of 2025. Matt and I are going to come up with 3 predictions each. We're going to sound off on each other's predictions. So we'll have 6 takes, if you will, about this. We want to hear some of your bold predictions as well. So for our Pewter Premier and Platinum members, this will be a fun episode on Friday. It's our Pewter Insider Show for our Pewter Platinum and Premier members, 1:30 on Friday. Make sure you check that out. Then we're not done, folks. We got Pewter pregame. The Buccaneers will be wearing their red uniforms. The red jerseys, I should say, because the Bills are going to be wearing their Standing Buffalo all-white uniforms for the game. So this probably will be red and pewter. It might be red and white, but I would guess red and pewter would be the uniform attire. And you can Check out Pewter Pregame at 9 a.m. We have a lot of fun with this show, so make sure that you're there live with us. We'll have the latest injury news, too. We get our sources to tell us what's happening at the 9 a.m. hour. So make sure you check us out, Pewter Pregame. And then, of course, at 1 o'clock kickoff, Bucs and Bills, Pewter Game Day. Matt Matera and Daniel Morales are going to be giving you all of the scoop and insight and reaction to the action that you're going to want to need. And then Matt and I will finish things up with the Bucs at Bills postgame podcast right after Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles talk to the media. So a lot of great content coming up. We appreciate you joining today's show for sure. And also, too, we want to remind you that if you need any legal representation, the folks over at Jorgensen Law office are the ones to call.
Welcome to Jorgensen Law, PA, where our family's legacy drives us to fight for your rights. Specializing in personal injury, workers' compensation, and Social Security, we're committed to winning for you. No fees unless we succeed. Trust in our family to help yours. Let's achieve justice together.
That's right. Give the folks over at Jorgensen's Law office big Pewter Report readers and listeners and viewers, and also huge Tampa Bay fans, especially the brothers right there. 727-347-7733. The champions of the injured and disabled. Their offices over in St. Petersburg, Florida. And you get a free case evaluation. Absolutely no fees until they win your case. You can't beat that. Plus, they're huge Tampa Bay fans. Did I mention that? Yeah. So you might want to talk some Buccaneer football with them, as well as how they can help you in the areas of personal injury, workers' comp, or Social Security.
Let's keep these super chats rolling. We'll go with Buck Spaceman. Thanks for the $5. Who says, will Bowles have the team ready? Because I know the Bills will be pissed off. Based on the past couple of years, the answer would be no, hence the losing streak.
Yeah, I get a sense that Baker and Bowles are kind of like in unison here. I think that they're ready to take the next step. Whether they do it or not, we're going to find out at 4 o'clock on Sunday. But they really, really, I think, in their own way, have kind of said, do we want to be good or do we want to be great? Do we want to get the details down and not screw up in these key moments and stop opponents from ripping off big explosive plays on defense and actually punch the ball in the end zone on offense? Or do we want to just, well, we played close, but, we'll get them next week. I think there's a little bit of a litmus test here, a little bit of a gut check for this team. And I'm really curious to see if Tampa Bay can avoid losing back-to-back games, because that's the first step of greatness, is if you don't lose games back-to-back. And, and we saw the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs, their arch nemesis in Buffalo, and then, lose focus and lose to a really bad 2-win Dolphins team, a Dolphins team that's now 3 wins. And it wasn't even close, 30-13. So you're right. They're going to be pissed off. I would hope Tampa Bay would be just as pissed off. And again, maybe I'm trying to be a little optimistic here. Usually I'm a realist, but they've done this before, Matt. They suffered a loss that in a game they really wanted to win against the Eagles. And they came back and they beat Seattle the next week on the road. Can they do it again? We'll find out.
I thought Baker Mayfield said something very interesting today, talking about the team receiving his message, which we all heard post-game after the loss to the Patriots, and holding everyone accountable. He talked about how everyone was laser focused today, and they had a great walkthrough, and they need to bring that into tomorrow as well when they're actually practicing a little bit more. And he said guys understand that what they're doing is not enough in the first place.
That's right.
And he talked about picking and choosing the right times of when to be vocal about it or when to just kind of let people figure it out on their own. And I think that goes back to a deeper conversation we've had about Bowles as a leader and certainly Baker as a leader, where Bowles doesn't need to be the in-your-face, yelling, rah-rah guy because he has his quarterback to do that. And Todd may nudge Baker on the side and be like, hey, let's really put it in against them today, or let's try to rally everybody a little bit more than usual. And Baker can just naturally do that on his own. But good on Baker for trying to put a little more pep in everybody's step. And I know they were coming out of the bye, and they haven't really faced too much adversity this year. They still have a good 6-3 record, but you don't want to look too far ahead. But at the same time, you got to prepare yourself for, hey, we don't want to get a 3-game losing streak. We don't want to be in a dogfight in December just to win our division versus, hey, we had the division lock. Let's try to get the 2 seed instead of the 3 seed this year, which will be even that much more important with how good the entire NFC conference is. So,
yeah, if you're going to play the Seahawks again, you want it in Tampa rather than going back up there.
Yeah, and you want to try to avoid playing either who doesn't come out of the NFC North with the Vikings and the Packers. You'd rather play the Bears. No disrespect to the Bears, but seems like a way more winnable game.
Yeah, I will say, just because I saw this in the chat here, let's just put this up real quick. This is Hezo813. Thank you to our Pewter Report TV Platinum member. Respectfully, what does Baker rushing yards have to do with him missing open receivers? That's his biggest issue right now. Yeah, I mean, he missed some open receivers. There's no doubt about it when it comes to Tez Johnson early in the game, right? I mean, we went back to watch the film, and he was having his way with Carlton Davis. That was actually one of the key matchups that we talked about in the Pewter pregame show, and I think he was winning those matchups early. Baker just didn't find him until later in the game when he found him for 2 touchdowns. But we haven't seen Baker rush for any yards in the last 3 games after being so effective. He's averaged 7.2 yards per carry this year, Matt, and he was actually kind of candid today when I asked him about that.
Yeah, he absolutely was. He said it's a combo of things. He said the scheme of the defense, team spying on him a little bit more. And then he pretty much said, like, he's looking to throw first instead of run. And maybe the injuries played into it a little bit more than he wished it had. And it's so interesting because some people are trying to, I'm not saying like shoehorn this or anything, but there's some parallels now between Baker and kind of his last time with Cleveland and trying to play through a tough injury there versus him playing through injuries here in Tampa. And I don't think we're at a point with Baker where it's like your injuries are limiting you so much you're actually a detriment to the team instead of putting Teddy Bridgewater in there. That's not the case by any means. But and you said this after the post-game show, the scrambling, the willing the team on 3rd down, making a big run, that is Baker Mayfield being Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And you need, even though he may not want to run, you kind of need that Baker. It just, I don't know. Something goes off in his brain where it's like, all right, well, now I'm ready to go. It's like it's like
kind of the special sauce that's missing in this sandwich, right?
It's a human smelling salt thing, which I know the NFL banned it, but you can still bring it in. It's like Baker needs that kind of release to kind of get into the game a little bit more. There's a saying with certain players, like sometimes you need to get hit one time to get into the game. Unfortunately, that's kind of like how it is for Baker. Like he needs to get his bell rung a little bit. I'm not saying concussions or anything like that, but he needs to take a little physicality, and then he's able to ball out, let it sling, let it fly, all these different things. It's just so interesting because if you looked at just the stats, you'd be like, oh, Baker Mayfield last game, almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That was the worst 3 touchdown performance like any quarterback has ever had. So I hope he gets back to running because it's part of this Bucs offense. Whether Todd Bowles, Josh Broussard, and Baker will admit it or not, it is a big part of what Tampa Bay does. Yeah. And when they don't have that element, I don't think it's a shock that their 3 worst games offensively all coincided with Baker not being able to run.
Great point, Matt. I mean, he's averaging 7 yards a carry. They're missing that. This is exactly what Baker Mayfield said, reading from the Bucs quote sheet here when I asked him about that. And I quote, first, I think schematically, starting in Detroit, they started with the spy defense on 3rd downs. They're just disciplined in the rush lanes. And for me, not feeling like I was able to get up to full speed scrambling to throw, which is what I try and do every time. Sometimes earlier in the season, the run lanes were there. I'm looking to throw, and as I get healthier, I'm still trying to take advantage of whatever they're giving me. So there he is, kind of like in a way, not making an excuse, but saying like, hey, I'm not as healthy as I was. You know, and it's one thing to, you know, like if you have to get 10 yards and you don't think that you have the wheels to do it, are you better hanging back behind that line of scrimmage and trying to find Tez or Cade or Sterling or somebody and get the 10 yards that way, right? And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Now, the good news, Baker said, he took a couple hits in that game, but was really only sacked one time. It was almost sacked twice. So he kind of insinuated that I didn't really get banged up worse. It wasn't like this was a game where things got worse. So there is the hope that as the weeks progress, if he can have a clean pocket, if he can do more handing off, right, where he's not having to scramble, that maybe he'll get his legs back a little bit later as the season goes on.
Hopefully that will be the case. KGH for life with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Says the Bills also have inconsistencies on offense, and their defense has been mediocre of late. I think the Bucs can take advantage of that this week.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's going to be a shootout, but it could be. The Bills can put some points on the board. The thing is, Todd Bowles' defense is going to have to really lock in, right? They're going to have to limit James Cook, and they're going to have to play better than Mike Vrabel's team when they came to town and put 4 touchdowns on the board. You got to be able to play red zone defense. We saw Tyke Smith when they had the opportunity to play some red zone defense. They got an interception there, and unfortunately, the Patriots went for it on 4th and goal on the 1. Perfect pass, perfect catch beats perfect coverage, and that was what happened. Great throw by Drake May, great catch by Stephon Diggs, and the coverage by Antoine Winfield Jr. wasn't perfect. It wasn't good enough, but still, it took you 4 tries to get that touchdown there. So, but when you give up the 72-yard play, the 69-yard play, the 55-yard play, and those all go for 7, you're not giving your red zone defense the opportunity to make them settle for 3 or to get that maybe red zone interception, that end zone interception. So that's going to be the key is they're going to have to avoid that type of game, avoid what happened up in Seattle where they just couldn't stop Sam Darnold and the Seahawks from scoring touchdowns, because the Bucs offense, they might be able to put up 30 points in this game because of the deficiencies on the Bills defense, but they can't get into the shootout type of thing. If they're going to win, it's got to be closer, I think, to that 49ers game, 30-19 in that respect.
I think it definitely has to. I'm so interested in how Todd Bowles will game plan for Josh Allen specifically, because as we know, Bowles likes to blitz, and the Bucs have found their most success. The 5-sack game, the 4-sack games. It comes with blitzing their defensive backs or having different type of looks that some quarterbacks haven't seen before. And the Bucs have still struggled to get home with the front 4. That's why it's been sacks by committee. That's why Yaya leads the team with 4 sacks, despite so many different players going and getting after the quarterback. But as we've seen across the league with guys like Allen and Mahomes and Stafford, if you want to blitz them, fine, go for it, because they're going to get rid of the ball quickly and, just find the one advantage that they have. They'll check to whatever play is best against that blitz. So I do wonder how much Todd Bowles will kind of ease the reins on blitzing against Josh Allen versus, hey, you don't have Stephon Diggs anymore. You don't have some of these other top targets. I'm going to dare you to get rid of the ball quickly or find a running lane to get to. And if you don't get to that running game, well, 3 guys can tackle you, even though you're the size of Paul Bunyan, Josh Allen. We'll still be able to take you down one way or another. Yeah. And then, offensively, I'm fine if it's not a big passing day for Baker Mayfield. If it means Sean Tucker's got 95 yards and Rashad White's got 65 yards or whatever the case may be. Could be very run heavy, but that's fine if it leads to a win.
Yeah.
Let's go to Bucks Basement. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Says a positive. Bills don't have a lot of an offense. Yeah, I mean, really, I think James Cook, Josh Allen's their best weapon, but James Cook is soon after, and that's
and
pretty much a one-two punch.
Yeah, you want to play good defense and not let the Bills get into the low red zone, because you always have the threat, and I believe this happened the last time the Bucs played the Bills up there in Orchard Park. Josh Allen, quarterback draw, I think it was like 12 or 15-yard touchdown, right up the middle, just boom. So that's kind of the danger too. James Cook has 7 touchdowns, so does Josh Allen on the ground. So that's the 1-2 punch they have at running back. And when you get into that low red zone, that 10-yard line, 12-yard line, and in to the goal line, that's where you see some option. That's where you see some read option with Josh Allen, where he'll sit there and he'll do quarterback keepers. You will see a quarterback keeper game, sweeps, draws up the middle. He's a big running back. He's a load to bring down. And so if you can get them out of the red zone area and keep them out, that kind of limits how they want to use Josh Allen. You're going to see those quarterback scrambles closer to the goal line, Matt, than you're going to see them at midfield.
Yeah, that's true. Josh Allen can get creative in several different ways, and it's going to be up to the Bucs to certainly bottle it. We have a $5 super chat from Eric Moreno. Thank you very much. Who says, "Hey, Scott, any advice on how to get through the holidays, first holidays without my dad? Anything helps. Appreciate you guys. Wish I did more."
Yeah. I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah. I lost my father December 19th. It was a couple of days before Christmas. It was probably a blessing for me. It was right in the middle of football season. So I just kind of dove right into work. At the same time, for the holidays, I think for me, everyone's different. You probably want to dive into it. You probably want to get out the photos and remember those times and keep the memory alive. And I might bring some tears, and all of that, and might have to swell up, and you kind of get that tightness in your chest. But that makes you feel like you're alive too, right? And I think that's probably what I remember doing is just, and one hand kind of like focusing on work, football season, and kind of ignoring it. It's just the time of the year it was. But then when I had time to think about it, and it was on Christmas or something like that, kind of diving into it and just, remembering. And I guess what I'm saying is pick and choose those times. Don't ignore it all the time, but at the same time, it is tough. And if you have to focus on other things, you're not, it's not a bad thing to compartmentalize and deal with emotions at the proper time, and also be around family. Family is, especially the ones you get along with, they will help for sure.
Yeah, I think it's great to keep, loved ones that may have departed in your thoughts, especially around the holidays. Maybe bring up some old stories or things they would have appreciated about, today's times. And it's good to keep them there in spirit and always feel like they're by your side. So
for sure.
Yes. Key to Villain says, "I got to make sure to read your new articles today, SR. I never miss one."
I appreciate that. I just dropped in for you and for others in the chat, my SR's Pick Six preview, the Bucs and the Bills. And we kind of talking about this, and I'll kind of give away one of the segments there is when I looked at the key matchup, right? It was on for the Bucs defense. It wasn't one player versus one player. It was the entire Bucs defense versus James Cook, because we've seen Travion Henderson, right? He got the best of different people on some of those runs, and he also almost had another earlier run completely. That toss that almost went the distance, if not for a touchdown saving tackle by Jamel Dean after he picked up a first down. So I think that's the thing is I would love to see Todd Bowles kind of come out with a game plan like he did against the 49ers, where like you're focusing on him. It's almost like when you played the old Chicago Bulls, like make Scottie Pippen beat you, make John Paxson beat you with the 3-pointers, make Steve Kerr, Bill Cartwright, whoever, but don't let Jordan just go off and beat you, right? Do whatever you can to mitigate him and make the supporting cast beat you. So if Khalil Shakir is the guy that beats you, okay, that's fine. But make sure it's not James Cook, right? Make sure it's Jackson Hawes, the backup tight end. Make sure it's those guys, not the guy that you is their deadliest weapon.
Right. Like if Josh Palmer makes a big play for the Bills against the Bucs, so be it. And we kind of saw the Patriots do that.
Matt Collins,
in a way, but
Kyle Williams.
Yeah. But the odds of that happening time and time again, I think will be rare. So that absolutely makes a ton of sense. David Weber, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, says offense needs to go to a quicker passing game. The pass rush is making Baker see ghosts now.
I did think that he saw some ghosts early on. There was a throw or two where there was nobody around him. He just got rid of the ball. And I also think that he didn't spend the time in the pocket to really scan, because there was some early instances where Tez Johnson was just absolutely
Yeah.
roasting Carlton Davis. And to me, that was the key matchup. And I'm really surprised that they didn't try to exploit that early on, because Tez did, Matt, what we thought he was going to do in the Pewter pregame show. We kind of called it out. We said, this is going to be one of those key matchups. And we thought Tez had a pretty good chance against Carlton, right? If he could just get off the line of scrimmage and get a free release, he's going to be hard to catch. And that proved to be the case. So hopefully that's something Baker sees, and it's something that can happen, that we saw Baker connect with Tez at the end of the game. Let's see if we can see Tez and Baker connect earlier in the game. Right now, Tez is on pace to actually get the type of yardage and touchdown production that Jalen McMillan had last year. He's on pace to get 7 touchdowns. McMillan had 8. He's on pace to get slightly more yards, and I think maybe a catch or 2 less. So as great as Jalen McMillan played at the end of the year last year, that's kind of what we're seeing from Tez Johnson right now.
It's Tasmania. It's Tasmania for real. 3 touchdowns in his last 3 games. Didn't score one against the Saints, but he made up for it with 2.
That's right.
Against the Patriots in this most recent game. And I think what we're seeing is, one, these rookie wide receivers, they've been thrown into the fire out of necessity. Right. There's nothing else that they've really been able to do, but they've answered it. They've answered it over and over again. And maybe we expect it from Emeka Buka because, all that he did at Ohio State, playing at a big-time program. Not that Oregon isn't, but Tez Johnson was factored in with a lot of great players where, Emeka Buka was one of the main guys there. But, I mean, who knows what Tez Johnson will end up being on this team when everybody's fully healthy, but to have him in the hopper and now using him currently and seeing the production that he's making for this team, I can't wait for Josh Grizzard to even open up the playbook maybe a little bit more for Tez Johnson. And this, we're seeing screens to Sterling Shepard and Cade Otton. We're not even seeing the screens and the end arounds and stuff to Tez Johnson.
I know.
So imagine when they start getting that a little bit more involved. I still want to see some more Cameron Johnson, though he didn't do me any favors with dropping that pass last game.
Right.
But I don't know. Part of me wants the Bucs to just run opponents out of town with the speed of Tez and Cameron Johnson, running roughshod all over the place. Then you kind of figure out everything else after that. The Bucs run crossers, but they don't really run like slants and stuff like that, which I find kind of interesting. But it'll be an important game to really get that passing game on track, and Tez Johnson's been a really big part of it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of important, it's time that we recognize our Pewter Premier members, and we're going to let this run, and then we're going to have our Pewter Platinum members after that, because we have a lot of Pewter Premier members, Matt. And while we're letting this run, it's important that we let everybody know to make sure you tune in tomorrow for Who Needs a Win More, the Bucs or the Bills. That's right. It's Thursday's podcast at 4 p.m. Eastern time here on Pewter Report TV. We've got our bold Bucs predictions for the rest of 2025. That's our Pewter Insider on Friday. Then we've got on Sunday a couple of podcasts for you, the first of which is going to be the Pewter pregame show at 9 a.m. Matt and I will get you set for the game with the latest injury news, followed by Pewter pregame at 1 p.m. on November 16th. That's next Sunday. It's going to be a fun game, Bucs and Bills. 2 quarterbacks from the 2018 draft. Baker Mayfield, number 1 overall. Josh Allen, where did he go? 10, 8, 10, 12, somewhere in that range. He was a top 15 pick.
Yeah, something like that.
For sure. Then, of course, we'll have the Bucs at Bills postgame podcast, and that's going to be just about probably 45 minutes after the game. We typically, for the away games, go live right after Baker Mayfield and Todd Bowles speak. So we're excited to bring you all of that coverage, just like we're excited to let you know who our Pewter Platinum members are, Matt.
Yes, a big thank you to Scott Federico, Scotty J, Rayful Gordon, Noah Parr, Dave Anderson, Eric McMillan, Hezo813, Ash Fishpool, Joel L. Rican, Sam, John Dale Morris, Zap Ranikin, RP89, Connor 4 Reels, Kevin Thomas, Mario Thomas, Leighton Carter, Brandon Riley, The Guy is Gifted, Alec Bickler, Nick Dubuque, Dominic Tarantino, HK Bucs, The Real Maverick, Brayon Pinkney, Brian Shucker, Black Gold 1999, Steven Zool, King James 813, Brian Green, Henry Gigante, Robert Mackin, and Todd Pittner. Thank you to each and every one of you for being Pewter Platinum members. Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. We also want to thank our most recently joined, rejoined, or leveled up members, Mr. King, GP King, Bill Devers, Seth Goodfellow, and Casey Crawford. Thank you so much for joining the ranks or rejoining the ranks of our Pewter Report YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV YouTube channel members. If you would like to join the crew, you can do that. You can become a channel member. All of the revenue we get from our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel goes towards our travel budget. And the Pewter People membership is just $3.99, and Pewter Pro members $6.99. We also have the Pewter Premier and Platinum members. You all get access to the Pewter Insider podcast that we do on Fridays at 1:30, as well as the Pewter Platinum members get the invite to the annual Platinum member meetup in Tampa. That's fun. We had Zion McCollum and Mike Greenberg there, plus the Pewter Report staff and about 20 members. So that was a fantastic showing there. Make sure that you find the membership level that suits you and help support our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. Also, just wanted to give a reminder to anybody out there that is a person involved in marketing, or maybe you own a business or you're a manager. You can help your business score new customers by advertising with Pewter Report, whether it be on our website, our podcast, or social media. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Email me at sr@pewterreport.com.
By the way, looking at that 2018 draft class, Baker Mayfield was first overall, as we know. Josh Allen was the 7th pick by Buffalo.
7th. Okay, wow.
Yes.
There we go.
Sam Darnold was 3rd. The Bucs picked that year in 2018. I think he worked out. Was Vita Vea 12th overall.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson was 32nd, so the last pick of the first round.
Traded up.
The other quarterback taken that year was 10th overall, former Buccaneer great Josh Rosen. Remember, Josh Rosen was briefly on the Bucs practice squad.
Yeah.
They signed him for a little bit. So
Arizona Cardinals quarterback, right?
Yeah, Cardinals drafted him. Unfortunately, did not work out for him. But definitely a very, very memorable draft class.
Right.
Saquon Barkley was 2nd.
Yeah.
Quentin Nelson was in that first round. Minka Fitzpatrick, Marcus Davenport, DJ
draft.
Moore. Yeah, it's definitely one of the better drafts, and of course highlighted by the QB class. So definitely one of the better ones for sure.
You know, thankfully, it's getting warmer. Like Florida's returning to Florida now. The last 2 days have been really cold. If you're from out of state, my daughter's out in Manhattan, Kansas. At K-State, it's actually been colder here than it's been there, so that's kind of crazy. But it's getting warmer now, and so the good news is, while it might be raining and cold for the Bucs game up there in Buffalo, it's supposed to be very, very nice, sunny skies in the 70s all week. It's a great time to go golfing, and you can do that at Heritage Isles Golf and Country Club. If you are looking for a new golf course, a new challenge, well, this might be the one for you. It's ranked in the top 3 best value courses in the entire Tampa St. Pete area. There's a lot of golf courses around here by Golf Advisor. For tee times, give them a call at 813-907-7447, located up here in the new Tampa area, probably about 20 minutes away from my house. Heritage Isles, it is a country club, but they also have public and private options, so you are welcome to come up here and golf. Again, ranked in the top 3 best value courses in Tampa St. Pete by Golf Advisor. Fantastic golf course, picturesque greens, everything that you want. So if you're looking for a new challenge or a new place to golf, make sure you check out Heritage Isles. Again, for tee times, 813-907-7447.
Well, we're going to take another swing, get it, because of golf, at this tomorrow with our podcast at 4 o'clock. And just a reminder, again, to all of our Pewter Platinum members, please email Scott. That's sr@pewterreport.com with your email address, your physical address, and your shirt size, so we can send you some brand new PR swags. Make sure you email Scott, sr@pewterreport.com. And also, if you're not already doing so, please make sure you're following us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video how you feel about the Bucs-Bills game. That'll do it for us on today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.